All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're coming at you with our Week 15 preview, picks, fantasy football, and betting plays for every single game of Week 15. Our start sits for every single game. We got a lot of fantasy content coming to you because the fantasy playoffs start this week. So, very big week, no bye weeks. It's going to be a very, very electric one. Drop a like on the video if you haven't already. How are you, Stores?
Doing good. Sorry to all the NFL seekers, loyals out there. It's been a little bit of a slack fest going on, but we're back. We're ready for the fantasy playoffs. We're ready to really get back into this. Last time you saw me, I didn't have a beard. So a new me, beard, all beardful and ready to podcast. So just ready to do this. Excited for week 15. Me and Danny both made the playoffs in our fantasy leagues, and so we'll be giving out tips and tricks because it's playoffs are here.
Beard stores for the playoffs. He's fully ready for the playoffs. You can't cut it until you lose in the playoffs. Hopefully it gets pretty crazy here and you last long and we play each other in the I think the bracket set up so we could play each other in the ship if we both went out.
Like it is possible. It could be a Danny versus Stores all-time toxic fantasy championship. I mean, I'm not banking on my team getting into. Your team has a pretty good shot. I'm dealing with some rough injuries, some bad trade decisions, but we made it to the playoffs. So, we grinded, fought our way, as Dan Campbell, we were biting kneecaps to try and get to the playoffs. And we made it. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy I don't have to do the last place punishment. So, that's all that matters. We're looking forward. We're the underdogs and we're ready to take a swing at the playoffs.
And anything can happen in the playoffs, as everyone knows, fantasy football is kind of 100% luck, but we'll try to help you guys with the start sit kind of borderline decisions here. Going into the first game, the 7-6 Los Angeles Rams are going to go into San Francisco, play the 6-7 49ers, an NFC West battle here in California. The Niners are 3-point home favorites in this one. I might just call this one the coin flip of the week right off the bat. I think there's a lot of coin flip of the weeks that we could nominate in this week. A lot of good games, but I think this one's a really hard one for me to pick. A lot of injuries for the 49ers, something to note. Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, a lot of injuries in the trenches. So that is something that really makes me want to say I'm going to pick the Rams. I will pick the Rams. I wasn't confident on it. Initially, my kind of gut told me to go with the 49ers, but I am going to go with the Rams. Was really impressed with what they did against the Bills last week. They really put on an offensive masterclass. And the 49ers, the vibes just aren't great. They're not looking too hot. It's not looking like they're going to be in the playoffs this year, and the Rams have a better shot. So I will go with the Rams to go on the road here and get a tough win against a really beat up football team, even though it will be a really good game, damn near a coin flip.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge game. However, I am immediately on the side of, I'm riding the hot hand in this one, and the hot hand is the Rams right now. I mean, their offense is an absolute juggernaut right now. Puka Nakua coming off of a 14 target, 12 reception game with 162 yards and a touchdown on top of that, and then, a receiving and a rushing touchdown on top of that. So he is eating. Matthew Stafford has found his groove. He's found his young Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp's even him. Cooper Kupp coming off of a solid performance with a touchdown as well. So this Rams offense has two of the most elite pass catchers in the league. Matthew Stafford is just, Matthew Stafford is an incredible quarterback. He is a field general. He's getting the ball out on time quick. Kyron Williams is a fantastic running back. So this offense is just elite, elite, elite. And, on the other side, the 49ers just depleted, absolutely depleted. Losing Christian McCaffrey just felt like the final punch in the mouth that just, they're fighting on one leg at this point and they're bleeding and they're just ready for that knockout punch. And that's I think the Rams are going to deliver that and I think that'll be it for the 49ers.
Yeah, no McCaffrey really hurts. Purdy's playing some pretty good football. I will say that. Someone that isn't playing good football, that man, Debo Samuel, he is really, really struggling. Going into fantasy football, I have Debo in a league. I'm finding every possible excuse I can to bench him. I'm starting Jerry Jeudy over him. I'm starting Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen over him if Breece Hall doesn't play. I'm really looking to not start Deebo Samuel. This is the fantasy football playoffs. You do not want I mean, he hasn't had double-digit fantasy points in months now. So Deebo Samuel cannot be started for me unless you're in like a 16-team league. I'm out on him. Juwan Jennings, though, beautiful, beautiful start. Juwan Jennings is just playing so good. He is the alpha wide receiver one on this team. Imagine I would have told you that by the end of the season. Before this season, it's pretty incredible what Juwan Jennings is doing. So he is a must start. Hopefully you have him for your playoff rosters. Obviously, George Kittle's a must start. Purdy's really feeding him nicely. I think Purdy's actually a good start in this matchup as well. I do think both these quarterbacks are good streamers and they will kind of throw some touchdowns against each other. So I like them. And then obviously, if Isaac Grendo goes, he's like a top five running back option. Don't even need to talk about it. But if he doesn't go, I do think Patrick Taylor is a start. Obviously, you just got to start the running back in this scheme. It's too good not to. So you're kind of starting all those guys except for Deebo Samuel. Just really embarrassing stuff from Deebo Samuel. He's getting roasted on Twitter. Just a disaster season for Deebo. For the Rams, it's really easy. You're starting Kyron, you're starting Puka, you're starting Cooper Kupp, and I think Stafford's a good streamer. So it's really, really simple for these teams, really, except for Deebo.
Yeah, no, pretty clear vision here of what to do, who to start, who not to start. But those of you who have Puka Nacua, sat through the injuries, didn't trade him, have him on your roster or traded for him, it's paying off, man. I think Puka Nacua is going to be a guy who wins a lot of people fantasy championships. So Puka Nacua, you know, might be. I might say he might be the fantasy playoff MVP. I'm that confident in him going forward for these next few weeks to get a lot of people those rings.
Definitely a league winner and definitely could be the league winner when it's all said and done. So Puka Nacua is definitely carrying some momentum. Let's go on to the first of the afternoon games on Sunday. The 6-7 Miami Dolphins are going to go into Houston, play the 8-5 Texans, who are 3-point home favorites in this one. And this is a must-win football game for both of these teams. The Texans are 8-5, but I mean, just one slip up, the Colts could kind of overtake them in their division and they could miss the playoffs. So it is getting to time where the Texans really have to show out. They have such a talented roster. They just haven't really put it together all the way. I think this is a really close game, and it could be another coin flip of the week nominee here. I'm going to go with the Texans, though. Off the bye, I do think they start to figure some things out. They just have so many stars on this team. One thing to note is it looks like both the Dolphins tackles are going to be out, so I think Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter just absolutely eat. The Texans edge rushers will go off in this game. Could be the difference. So give me the Texans to win in a pretty good game. Obviously, both teams are literally fighting for their lives, especially the Dolphins. They don't have any room for error. So will be a really good game, but the Dolphins don't play as well on the road. I'm going to go with the Texans here to kind of bounce back off the bye and figure things out.
Yeah, this is another literally a coin flip right here. Like I'm still coin flipping it back and forth. Oh, it's so tough. But yeah, the Dolphins just feel a little bit more depleted at this point in time. So I am going to go with the Texans. Not at all confident. I mean, I think you literally just kick a can and whatever side it lands on, you go with. One thing I want to point out. So obviously I'm rolling with the Texans in this one. Not confident at all. But you want to know a funny stat? I mean, I'm just gonna throw a question at you, Dan. How high do you think Devon Achan in fantasy drafts goes next year?
Um, Definitely first round. I don't know if it'll be top five, but definitely like in the 3 to 10 range, just depending on drafts. But I do think it'll be a year of running backs going high, so he'll go close to top five.
What running back overall? Like who would you take over Devon Achan? Like obviously probably Saquon. Would you take anyone else over Devon Achan in fantasy?
Saquon, I think Bijan, I'd probably take over him. I will say with HA, like I own him in our league, and he has not been good on the ground at all. It's really just Tua just spamming checkdowns to him. So obviously he has a crazy high floor, and he's gonna get you close to 20 points every week. But on the ground, the efficiency is bad. Like he was averaging 8 yards per carry last year, and it's like 2 yards per carry this year.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So Devon Achan, as we all know, was incredible last year. He was averaging 7.8 yards per carry. So he had 103 attempts for 800 yards in minimum attempts. This year he has 153 attempts for 600 yards and 3.8 yards per carry. So it has gone down substantially. But like you said, the volume that Devon Achan is getting from Tua is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, this is a guy that can truly touch the ball 25, 30 times a game. So for fantasy, obviously he has just been fantastic. You get the PPR points, he's even better in it because I think last game he had 7 receptions. Hasn't been super efficient, but man, the volume's been just absolutely fantastic, and that's what you want to see from fantasy.
Yeah, the receiving volume's been literally like legendary for a running back. We really haven't seen it much except for like prime Kamara, prime Christian McCaffrey. He's literally the wide receiver one on this stacked Dolphins offense. So it is really big. Like going into fantasy, Achan's a great play this week. Obviously, he should get you a really good game in this game where they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Tyreek Hill coming off a big performance definitely should be in your lineup. Jalen Waddle's getting into the territory where he definitely can be started. Another good game last week. He's definitely a pretty solid flex play at this point. A little bit scary, could always dud, but he's a pretty solid flex play coming off a really good week. Jonnu Smith is a must start tight end. And then for the Texans, I think Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, you know what you're doing with them. They're must starts. And then everyone else for the Texans is just a little bit scared for me. I'm not starting CJ Stroud. I don't want to start Tank Dell unless I'm really, really, kind of down bad. I don't love the Tank Dell, but this is a pretty good matchup. So he would be the only like dart throw I would say for a flex option, but he's a little bit scary for me and everyone else is a little bit set in stone.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, I think CJ Stroud has been a bench candidate. Obviously coming off of that historic season last year. I don't know really what happened midway through the season. He just kind of fell off a cliff. The offense has definitely lacked production. It seems like they're just lacking a whole lot. So it is a little timid, and they feel like a team that is just, going forward is just very, very beatable. But Joe Mixon, though, has just been a fantastic running back, though. He is just a new life resurgence for the Texans. So, he's a fun start. He's probably going to be on a lot of winning fantasy teams, too.
Yeah, and Tua, I think Tua Tagovailoa is a pretty good streaming option. I definitely wouldn't mind getting Tua in my lineup. He's been throwing a few touchdowns each week, so definitely can do worse than Tua. Let's go on to the next game here. The 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs are going to go into Cleveland, play the 3-10 Browns. Interesting line. The Chiefs are only 4.5 point favorites here because they just cannot cover any spreads all season long. They're just, in these tight games and they just come away at the very end. So this should be a pretty good game. Close line. I agree with it. Obviously, people are betting on the Browns, and the Chiefs just can't cover spreads. So, with that being said, I'll go with my pick. I think it's going to be a very close game down to the end, like every single Chiefs game. And like every single Chiefs game, I think at the very end, they'll pull away and get, some game winner, or they'll just win in the end. That's what the Chiefs do. That's what they've been doing all season. They're probably going to lock up that one seed here soon. So, give me the Chiefs here in a pretty fun, good game. Not much to say though. I think they come away with it in the end, like they always do. Wouldn't be surprised if Jameis pulled off a miracle and won here in the dog pound, but I do think the Chiefs come away with the close one in the end.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a game that could, for sure be a trap game. You could see Jameis coming in here and pulling some Jameis miracle. But as I've said all season long, I will not pick against the Chiefs because dark magic, witchcraft, as everyone knows. I mean, at this point, you can't even hide it. They have sold their soul to the devil, and by any means, they will win a game, and it will come down to the final play, and it'll be something absolutely ridiculous that we have never seen before, and they'll win. And so, with that, there's not much to assess at this point with the Chiefs. They are a very good team at winning. They find a way every single week, whether it's a fumbled snap, a doink off the upright into the field goal, blocking a field goal, um, toe out of bounds, fourth and 20 pass interference. It doesn't matter. They will find a way to win. And I think they'll do that in this. And it kind of feels like a Jameis, 360 pick, you know, six or something weird. Jameis does a little spin, throws it up. Judy catches it, fumbles up in the air. And then, Chris Jones, it comes out of nowhere. He's playing 20 yards deep and gets a pick six to win by a point. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm expecting.
Definitely some demon sorcery to come away with the win here at the end. Going into fantasy, though, very interesting game for me. I think Jameis is a good option. He's just gonna keep tossing the ball, should get you at least a touchdown or two every single game. So I think Jameis is a good option. I'm deciding between him and Jordan Love right now, and I'm completely tilting. I'm going back and forth. I have no idea who I want to start because I think Jameis is a good, safe option. I think he has a higher chance of getting more touchdowns. then Jordan Love because he doesn't have Josh Jacobs stealing 3 touchdowns. So it's a really, really tough decision for me, but I do think Jameis is a pretty good start. Jerry Jeudy's obviously a must start at this point. He is playing incredible football. Another good, fun touchdown last week. Elijah Moore isn't a start if Cedric Tillman plays. If Cedric Tillman doesn't play, then Elijah Moore could be a pretty good start. But if Cedric Tillman plays, it's really scary. I don't think I want to start him. I just want to see. It's been a weird, suspicious concussion. He's out for like a month with a concussion. So I just monitor Tillman. I don't think I would just throw him into my lineup unless I was absolutely desperate, which I mean I might be in our league. But if I can get like a Isaiah Davis with no Brees Hall, I would start him over Cedric Tillman. So monitor him for sure. It definitely changes a lot of things for the Browns. Definitely start David Njoku, and then running back wise, I'm not looking to start Nick Chubb. Don't want to, a bust 5 point performance from my running back. So not looking to start Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford's an even better dart throw than Nick Chubb. And then for the Chiefs, you know what you're doing. You're starting Travis Kelce. DeAndre Hopkins is a pretty solid flex play at this point, especially in this matchup. They should be throwing the ball. It should be a close game. So Hopkins could be a good player in this week. And then Isaiah Pacheco is probably a start, even though he hasn't looked too great. It's a pretty good, matchup for Pacheco, even though the Browns have been better against the run than in the past game. I do think it's a good matchup for Pacheco, Kelsey, Hopkins. You could start Mahomes. I mean, you could do worse than Mahomes, but not like excited to start Mahomes. And I think that's about it. Anything else?
No, I just want to touch on how incredible, awesome Jerry Jeudy has been. The resurgence from Jerry Jeudy is just a thing of beauty. I mean, he's literally looking like, one of these elite top, 10, 15 pass catchers in the NFL. I mean, what he's been able to do with Jameis, over the past 4 weeks. I mean, even that he's been solid since week 9. But I mean, just going back to week 11 versus the Saints, 11 targets, 6 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Against Pittsburgh, 6 targets, 6 receptions, 85 yards. Denver in his revenge game, 13 targets, 9 receptions, 235 yards, and a touchdown. Another tough game against Pittsburgh last week. One of the best defenses in the NFL. 64 yards on 6 targets, 5 receptions, and a big touchdown. I mean, again, this is another, like I said, Puka Nacua. Jerry Jeudy, if you were able to get him, for some reason, me and Dan both had him off the waiver wire and dropped him for reasons we cannot explain. Some witchcraft came into our brains and just made us drop Jerry Jeudy. But this is a league winner, so if you were able to benefit off of Jerry Jeudy off the waiver wire, then congratulations, because I don't see the eating frenzy stopping for Jerry Jeudy anytime soon.
No, I don't either. I think he's became the wide receiver one. He's earned it, and Jameis just loves feeding this guy. They've obviously built a connection, and Judy's looking fantastic right now. Should be a lock for a touchdown like every week the way he's playing. Let's go on to the next game. The 5-8 Cincinnati Bengals are going to go into Tennessee, play the 3-10 Titans. The Bengals are 5 point road favorites here. Don't think we need too much analysis on this game. The Bengals should definitely win. They're in, must win every single game for the rest of the season mode, and they're going to need some help with, the Broncos, maybe Chargers losing some games. So the Bengals have to win, no excuse. Obviously, it's a Callahan revenge game, which is a fun narrative. The Titans obviously coming off a pretty gross loss. They're a really inconsistent team in general because Will Levis was playing pretty good before that Jaguars game, and then he just dropped a stinker against the Jaguars. So you never know what you're going to get with the Titans. Give me the Bengals. It's pretty self-explanatory. They got to win. Burrow's playing some incredible, incredible football right now. Chase is a literal cheat code. You throw it to him, and he's going to break away for a touchdown. So give me the Bengals. Chase Brown's playing incredible. This team is really clicking at the right time. The worst defense I've ever seen in football history. I will say that. The Titan defense is far better. Could be a somewhat decent game. Might not want to bet on this game, but the Bengals should win.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry with this one. It's Bengals. Their offense is just going to be too overwhelming for this Titans, roster. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown playing elite football. All guys who are probably in the playoffs for fantasy teams. This Bengals offense, elite. You want every single thing to do with it from a fantasy aspect or from a fantasy aspect. I mean, yeah, Chase Brown has been, I think a top 3 running back since Zach Moss has been injured. So another league winner right there. And then Jamar Chase, if you were one of the people that drafted him in the first round of your fantasy drafts, congratulations. He is wide receiver 1 this year. over, everyone else who we thought could possibly be wide receiver one. It is Jamar Chase by a long margin.
It's a good lesson for next year, honestly. Like, just bet on the good players. Bet on the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases. Just take them early in your first rounds of your drafts because they're gonna produce for you in the end. Remember, Jamar Chase had a rough few first weeks and people were panicking. No, he's gonna be insane. If you got a Burrow and Chase stack, it's league winning. Chase might be the best player in fantasy. He might be the league winner this year. So obviously, going into fantasy, you don't need to talk about the Bengals. You're starting everyone on the Bengals. Literally, don't even need to discuss it. Onto the Titans, obviously, you can definitely start Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. They kind of moved into those really good start slash must start territory now. Just, hopefully Will Levis doesn't have another dud like last week and this offense can be better. But against this Bengals defense, I think you are pretty excited about those two options. Don't think I'm excited about anyone else. I'm not messing with NWI after last week. Not going to throw a dart at that Westbrook Akini touchdown, even though I could definitely see it. Not in my fantasy playoffs. I'm not doing it. So I think it's just those two guys. I don't think I want to start Will Levis after last week either.
Just quick trivia question for you Seekers fans and you, Danny, out there. How many touchdowns does Jamar Chase have in the last 4 weeks?
5, 6, 7. No.
Eight touchdowns. Jamar Chase in the last 4 games has 8 touchdowns. And then, gosh, let me do the math right here on yards.
Dude's averaging 2 touchdowns a game over the last month. That's insane.
Yeah, so I mean, Jamar Chase right now, I'll just tell you. So his season stats right now, on 127 targets, 93 receptions, 1,319 yards, and 15 touchdowns. But 8 touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. So he's averaging 2 touchdowns a game. Yeah, yeah.
I hope you're not playing him in your first round of your fantasy playoffs.
And surprisingly, the guy who has Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, and Jerry Jeudy in our league actually is not in the playoffs. So try making that up for that guy. You know, poor soul, poor sucker. We won't name any names, but somehow doesn't make the fantasy playoffs with Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, Jalen Hurts, Brian Thomas, and Jerry Jeudy all on the same team. We're not going to name names, but poor kid, mismanaged the roster a little bit or something. Some voodoo witchcraft happened for him. Again, fantasy is luck. It's crazy, but won't name names. Pretty funny though.
Absolutely brutal stuff. If you have this guy Jamar Chase, you have Chase Brown, you got to be really, really excited. They're top 5 fantasy options moving forward. Joe Burrow is playing incredible. Hopefully, you have him stacked with them because they're league winners. Let's go on to the next game. The 8-5 Washington Commanders are going to go into New Orleans, play the 5-8 Saints. The Commanders are 7.5 point road favorites here. We'll call them the Redskins because they're playing some pretty good football. They deserve to be called the Redskins. That was one of the most fun aesthetics in football. I want to go back to the Redskins. Hopefully they can change their freaking name. But a fun narrative here is this is Marshawn Lattimore's first game with the Commanders in a revenge game. So that's a really exciting narrative. His first game is going to be a revenge game. Obviously, take the over on him getting a pick. He should have a pretty good game here going up against absolutely nobody. I mean, MVS, Juwan Johnson. There's just absolutely no weapons for the Saints, no Derek Carr. So it's going to be either Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler. I honestly don't even know who it's going to be for the Saints. Give me the Commanders, though. They should definitely take care of business. The Saints defense has been playing a lot better. The Commanders offense is getting figured out a little bit, so it might not be a blowout or anything, but give me the Commanders in kind of a low scoring, ugly game here. I just think they have a lot more star power, a lot more to play for at this point of the season, and they're not on to their backup quarterback.
Yeah, again, like I said, in our last preview, just barely. Pretty cut and dry here. It's pretty depleted Saints team. Commanders are far and away a better football team, better coached, obviously. And yeah, this star talent on the Commanders is exciting. It's going to be fun, to see them, hopefully, and they should be with their record right now, making a postseason run and should be a pretty lethal team that no one wants to play. They're very, very chippy, very, very dangerous, can really pop off at any time. They can put up big points really quick. Their defense comes up big when their defense when it matters most, their defense steps up big. So scary team going forward, a bright future for the Commanders, and this one should be a pretty easy win for them. And from fantasy aspect, Jaden Daniels been a league winner. For those of you who got him at the tail end of your fantasy football drafts, Some of you maybe even picked him up off the waiver wires. He's been a real league hero. Terry McLaurin should be pretty awesome. Is Mr.
Brian Robinson will be going, so he's going to be a
Okay,
great start.
he read my mind. Okay, yeah, Brian Robinson, yeah. I mean, averaging 13.5 fantasy points per game. 8 touchdowns on the season, almost 700 yards. Obviously missed a few games. He'd have better numbers if not, but a super solid start going forward. How's Eckler been doing? I guess I've kind of fallen asleep and not watching much Eckler. How's he been doing over the last?
It's just those three, and that's why Brian Robinson's so good is because Eckler is on IR, so he's going to be
Yeah.
out for season. So Brian Robinson's a really really good play this week. You can expect a pretty big game from him, and I think it's just those three because Noah Brown's also out.
Oh wow. Okay. Don't know where I've been the past month, but I got a beard and I didn't see Austin Eckler get hurt. So we gotta change that. We gotta get stores, beards stores on Twitter and out of the ice age.
It's been camping, hunting, fishing, no phone, just
Yeah, just living
stranded for
off
a
the
month.
land. Just living off the land. I just hear from like an eagle flying in the sky what the scores of the week are. Not injuries though.
Gotta respect it. Mountain Man stores, but for the Saints, you're really.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go on, go on, go on.
Uh, for the Saints, you're really kind of scared with no Derek Carr. It's really just Alvin Kamara, and you're scared about it because the upside is really just not there with check down Carr not throwing him. So you can expect like 10 to 12 points for Kamara. Won't be too exciting. Won't be weak winning for sure. But I think that's it. You can start Juwan Johnson. It's just a little bit scary with the backup quarterback here. Obviously, I'd be a lot more confident in him if he had Derek Carr. But I think Juwan Johnson's really the only other guy I'm touching. Not going to touch MVS with the backup quarterback. So it's really just Kamara and maybe Johnson.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson, depending on your fantasy play, I mean, he's not a bad play. He could be worth a dart throw. I mean, last week getting 5 targets, 50 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty good fantasy production. Found his way into the end zone 2 of the last 3 weeks, so he could definitely be worth a dart throw.
Yeah, he's literally the only receiving option in this offense. So definitely worth a dart throw, definitely worth having on your roster. Let's go on to the next game. The 5-8 Dallas Cowboys are going to go into Carolina, play the 3-10 Panthers, and this is a fun one. It's the Panthers' first time being favored all season, and I'm pretty sure it's the Panthers' first time being favored in the last 2 years. So making this graphic is a little bit weird, seeing the Panthers favorited, but it's really fun, rightfully so. Bryce Young is playing really good football, really resurgence of Bryce Young with Adam Thielen playing really good football as well. I think Adam Thielen's a great start in fantasy. By the way, give me the Panthers to take care of business here as the favorites. I think Bryce Young is kind of the difference in this game against Cooper Rush. I think it will be a game where they both just pound the rock, both will pound Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard. I think they're both going to have good games, but I think the difference in the X factor here will be Bryce Young making some plays with Adam Thielen. Maybe Xavier Legette gets some revenge off of that terrible drop last week that they could have beat the Eagles off of. I think the Panthers take care of business here at home, which would be really fun.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, this is a tough one for me because the Cowboys defense can definitely get hot and get lethal. And it seems like the Panthers could be a team that they could tee off against. But no bad team is playing better than the Panthers. The Panthers are a bad team that are playing extremely good football and very scary football, so where no one really wants to play them. And yeah, I'm gonna have to side with you after watching Cooper Rush throw some of the worst throws I've ever seen in NFL history. I am feeling more confident in my boy Bryce Young, and I'm rooting for Bryce Young. So give me the Panthers. We're back on the Panthers train in this podcast. So let's go Bryce Young. Let's go Panthers. Let's go Dave Canales. Don't let us down in this one.
Yeah, and we'll save our Panthers hot take at the very end of the episode. So stay tuned, Panthers fans. But yeah, I think the Panthers get the win. I don't know if we've ever picked the Panthers to win a game in the last 2 years. So really exciting stuff on the fantasy. I think Adam Thielen's a great start, like I said. Chuba Hubbard's a great start coming off a great week. I think that's it for the Panthers, though. And then for the Cowboys, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, Rico Dowdle's moved himself into a must start territory. And I think that's about it, unless you really want to start Jake Ferguson. He's a little bit scary with the way Cooper Rush is playing, no upside at all. I'd rather start like a Pat Fryermuth, for example, someone like that. But you could do worse than Jake Ferguson, but I do think that's it.
Stay tuned towards the end of the episode. It's going to be something wild.
Ooh, I'm a little bit scared for this one. Unhinged, bearded stores, Panthers hot take. Stay tuned for sure. But let's go on to the next game. The 8-5 Baltimore Ravens are going to go into New York, play the 2-11 Giants. The Ravens are 16-point favorites. I think that's definitely the biggest line we've seen all year. So Vegas definitely expects Tommy Cutlets to kind of get dominated by the Ravens here. And the Ravens defense isn't great, but I do think against this Tommy Cutler's Giants team, they definitely should be able to get the job done and kind of dominate. And I don't know if they cover that 16-point spread. That's a college spread right here that you don't really see often in the NFL. That's pretty absurd stuff, but you got to pick the Ravens cut and dry like the last few games. Goes without being said, the Ravens will win this football game. They actually kind of need to. They're only the sixth seed right now, or, maybe the fifth seed. No, because the Chargers.
Ravens are fifth, Chargers sixth, Broncos seventh.
Oh yeah, because the Chargers play the Chiefs. I'm dumb. Okay, so yeah, they're still all really close though, so they do need to win. Definitely need to move up those standings. So give me the Ravens. Got to win. You got two MVP type players in your backfield. Pretty cut and dry.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I wanted to get hyped up and I wanted to give me a little bit of a but I'm a little for like over three interceptions is
Yeah.
what I'm feeling Cutlets to do. So yeah, like you said, pretty simple. The Ravens are gonna smash mouth football and they're gonna little brother the Giants in this one. And the Giants are probably okay with that because Giants want a top draft pick. So at this point it's tank season for the Giants. Get the best player in the draft and let Derrick Henry just, little bro you.
Is it Shadur Sanders or Travis Hunter or Greg Ward for the Giants
Or Cam Ward.
or Cam Ward? I
Yeah,
would say
I was
Greg.
gonna say, I feel like it's Cam Ward. I feel like Cam Ward. I mean, Shadur would be like a big face, but it seems like Shadur's already trying to recruit himself to go play for the Raiders. Seems like Shadur wants to go. Tom Brady. I mean, just the connection there. He's already being weird. I feel like he's already said to certain teams he won't play for them. It does feel like Shadur is like leaning more Raiders to me. And then not Broncos, Giants. I like Cam Ward. I mean, the Giants have kind of put themselves in an awkward situation where they have to draft a quarterback or they have to go out and sign like a Sam Darnold or something. Because I mean, you can't obviously go into next year with the current quarterback situation. You pretty much handcuffed yourself to I got to go spend a tremendous amount of money in free agency, or I've got to go spend the top overall pick. So yeah, obviously, come April, it'll be pretty telling what they do in free agency in March. But yeah, I mean, I like Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward a lot. I think he's a, he'd be a good face in New York. I feel like he's a good quarterback. I mean, it's not a very good quarterback class this year, but I think he could be the best fit for this Giants offense and a good fit for Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, Cam Ward and Malik Neighbors would be electric stuff. Really fun. Either Shadur or Cam Ward would be really fun with Malik Neighbors. Just got to get someone in here. Going into fantasy, Tracy and Neighbors are the only two guys for the Giants, and you kind of feel like you're pigeonholed. You have to start them. You're just scared about it with Tommy DeVito out there against the Ravens. You're really scared that they get really anything. They don't have a semblance of upside, really. So you kind of have to put them in your lineup and just hope for the best and close your eyes. It's really scary if you could go away from Tracy, if you have a lot of good running back options, a lot of good handcuffs, like if Charbonnet goes and Walker doesn't go, I would start Charbonnet over him. But it's really tough with the Giants. It's just scary. For the Ravens, though, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, really good start. Zay Flowers, I think, is actually a good start in this matchup as well. Mark Andrews has been playing a lot better than most fantasy tight ends. So I think it's pretty cut and dry there. For the Ravens, you definitely want to target this abysmal Giants team.
Pick up the Ravens defense if they are available in your fantasy leagues. I hope you if you have any fab money left, I hope you put your last dollar because they should be getting you some decent fantasy points.
Yeah, they were a good streaming option when Drew Lock was the quarterback for the Giants. I think they were like 13-point favorites, and then it was announced that it's going to be Tommy DeVito, and now they're 16-point favorites, and they're an even better streaming option. So definitely you could stream the Ravens defense for sure in your playoff matchup. Let's go on to the next game. The 3-10 New York Jets are going to go into Jacksonville, play the 3-10 Jaguars. Battle of 3-10 here. The Jets are 3.5-point favorites. The Jags will be in those beautiful throwback jerseys. Both teams are playing a little bit better. Jags coming off a win, Jets coming off a game where they completely outplayed the Dolphins. Absolutely outplayed the Dolphins. Should have won that game. Didn't. come away with the win. They outplayed the Seahawks 2 weeks ago, didn't come away with the win. So definitely getting a little bit unlucky. Give me the Jets here to win this one, though. They'll finally come away with a win. They are playing better, especially offensively. The defense is a little bit suspect, but against Mac Jones, I do think this Jets team comes away with it. Even if Brees Hall doesn't play, I think Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen both split again and have a really good week because they're both some really fun, good rookie running backs. So give me the Jets. I think they match up well against the Jaguars, and it should be a pretty good game. But I do think the Jets take care of business.
What I just barely said, I'm going to leave it off on the Jets defense is another good streaming option this week for fantasy defense. So, I could give me the over on the 1.5 Mac Jones picks. I think that's a lock. So, if that doesn't tell you what I predict for this game, I don't know what will, but yeah. Give me if it's 1.5, 2.2, I'll take the over.
A little bit bold, honestly. Mac Jones has been playing some surgical football, man. Coming off a win,
I,
rude.
I think this is gonna be a game where we remember who Mac Jones is as a person. I think this will be Mac Jones, coming out pick party. So I can see just an absolute disaster.
That would also be a Jets defense coming out party because they've been abysmal. But yeah, I definitely could see them, getting right here. They have the pieces, they have the players. Definitely a good matchup for them.
Oh, 100%. And then yeah, like from a fantasy aspect, should be an interesting. I think the matchup versus I mean, Sauce has kind of been getting cooked, but this is going to be a good matchup. Rookie Brian Thomas Jr. I think he'll get the better of Sauce. Maybe a couple times I could see a lot of yards for BTJ. Um, what do you think about, I mean, Travis Etienne and Tanks Bigsby and this whole entire just season overall? Like, what do you foresee next year? Maybe we're already looking past to next year, but what do you make of these running backs from a dynasty aspect? What even is their value?
That's a disastrous question. I mean, Travis Etienne's in the gutter. Surely he's going to be on a different team next year. That's what I would assume. He's like a Chief or something next year. I just don't see him being a Jaguar. I think Tank Bigsby is the piece that you would want in Dynasty. Maybe they draft someone, but I think Tank Bigsby has a higher chance of being the starter next year. I mean, he's already like they both were pretty successful in fantasy last week, but Tank had 13 points, ETN had 11. So definitely give me Tank to, I would value Tank higher than him moving forward for sure. And this week too, I wouldn't mind starting Tank. I would never start Travis Etienne though. So
And then one last question. Is Doug Peterson's job safe at this point?
he's still employed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is are you do you think he will be fired by the end of the season? Do you think they run it back with him? What? I mean, we thought he was going to be left in London, but
Yeah.
apparently he's still employed by the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Trevor Banks
Allegedly,
Stadium.
allegedly he's still employed. It's definitely going to be one of those where he's just fired at the end of the season, like the day after the season, he'll get fired for sure. I don't see any world where they go with him next year. That'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I I had to double check, but yeah, he's still employed. So that'll be interesting. And I don't know how, with all the open and vacant jobs there are going to be this year, because I feel like there's going to be a lot. I don't know how tempting this is, for a Ben Johnson, as everyone usually wants or preaches for. I don't know how tempting of a spot the Jaguars really are for any big name head coaches.
Yeah, definitely not the most attractive spot. You can't really go into college because you don't want to go with the Urban Meyer PTSD route. So a little bit of a rough patch for the Jaguars here. Hopefully they figure it out. Some young pieces. The defense is playing a little bit better. But going into fantasy, like you said, BTJ is a good start. Tank Bigsby is a fine flex play. Not excited about it, but you can. Travis Etienne, I don't want touching my lineup. Evan Ingram can play. Like he doesn't have any upside, but he has a floor. And at tight end, it's kind of all you can ask for the Jets, though. If it's not Brees Hall, obviously you're starting Brees Hall if he goes. If it's not Brees Hall, then Isaiah Davis is a really good start. I would rank him a little bit higher than Braylon Allen, but both of them are good flex plays because they completely split the backfield. Isaiah Davis is just a little bit more electric, has a little bit higher of a chance at scoring, so that's how I would rank them. But I think they're both good flex plays. And then receiver wise, obviously Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, both playing pretty solid fantasy wise. So got to start them. And I think that's it. Not really looking to start Aaron Rodgers right now. Not looking to start Mac Jones. So I think that's about it fantasy wise.
Yeah, 100% agree.
All right. Moving on to the Seekers game of the week here, the first of the afternoon games. The actually there's like 5-2 or 4:30 games this week, no 4:05 games. But the 10-3 Buffalo Bills are going to go into Detroit, play the 12-1 Lions. The Lions are 2.5 point favorites here in the Seekers game of the week. I think this is also a coin flip of the week. It's really, really tough to pick. I mean, injuries kind of decide it. Taylor Decker, Ali McNeil are injured for the Lions, so that really makes it hard for me to pick. I think if they both play, I'm almost leaning the Lions, but I'm going to pick the Bills here. Really think their offense can kind of click. I think their passing game can really click against this Lions secondary. I think Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, maybe Kincaid, Keon Coleman get back. Amari Cooper's coming off a good game. I think they kind of have a pretty solid outing through the air against this Lions electric team. Obviously, their running game's electric, but the Bills' run defense hasn't been terrible. I don't know. It's a really tough one. It's damn near a coin flip, but give me the Bills in this one and just a barn burner like that Rams Bills game last week. I think it's going to be just like that in Detroit in the dome. Should be a really fun back and forth game, but I will take the Bills in a coin flip.
I like it because I'm going to split with you here. I think the Lions smell blood in the water with this Bills team. I think the Lions are, I think the Lions are the best team in the NFL right now. They are my number one team. I think they're unbeatable. I mean, Josh Allen is a close second. The Chiefs are right there. So, this is the best of the best going at each other. But I like the tenacity. I like the grit of this Lions team. I like the fight. It's in the dome, so maybe if it was in that cold Buffalo weather and a big snowstorm, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable and Josh Allen just really taking that over. But the Lions are inside that warm, toasty dome. You got Sonic and Knuckles, 1-2 punch. Jared Goff is just dealing, and this team's hot, man. And they, one of those running backs isn't hot, the other one's going to be hot. If Amon-Ra St. Brown's not going, you got Sam Laporta. It's too dynamic of a team. There's too much grit to it, and this Lions team, I might just say it, man. I might just say it. They might be the team to take down the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and prevent that three-peat. So, I need Jared Goff to get right. I need him to be, ready to go for the playoffs and, to take down the Chiefs if they make it to the Super Bowl again.
If I had to bet on one team right now in the NFL to win the Super Bowl, I think it would be the Lions. I do think they're the best team in the NFL. Like you said, I definitely agree. This could be a Super Bowl like preview right here. Definitely
I would
easily.
love this for a Super. If this was the Super Bowl, I would be happy.
Oh,
I would this would be just perfect. It would be beautiful.
imagine that'd be electric for a Super Bowl.
This is the Super Bowl, us good guys as the fans want to see. This is the matchup, NFL. So if you want to script something, this is what we want to see. This
No
is it.
no devil magic involved. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah, in this matchup, Josh Allen, I mean, if he can get this win on the road, that's a MVP type of statement. Could secure MVP if he wins this game. So big game for Josh Allen. We're split on here, so you definitely have to watch this one. Going into fantasy, don't need to talk about anyone. You're starting everyone in this matchup. Should be the highest scoring matchup of the week. Don't need to talk about obviously Josh Allen. He's just incredible right now, coming off the highest scoring quarterback fantasy performance of all time. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. James Cook, though, is definitely a discussion we need to have. Like, if you have James Cook right now, are you scared to start him after what happened last week? Just randomly was benched until like 2 minutes left in the game. I don't, that was so weird. I don't know what to even make of it. I mean, I have him in a league and I have no idea what to do. I don't even know.
Feel like, with just the running back shortage, you have to start him. You're scared, but you just kind of have to. That's kind of where I'm at is just, yeah, I don't know what the hell happened last week, but I don't really have another choice. So you can't you can be shy. I mean, if you're in a deeper league and you have no other choice, I mean, maybe if you're in an 8 team or something and you have two incredible running backs besides him, then maybe you look, for a different flex option. But, in deeper, 10, 12 team leagues, you probably don't have a better option.
Would you start James Cook or Lad McConkey?
Oh, Lad
Like
McConkey.
you think about it, it's the fantasy football playoffs. You can't risk you start James Cook and then Ty Johnson's out there for the whole first half. Or I mean, I don't know, Lad McConkey could get hurt. It's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. I'd probably lead Lad McConkey just because dude's just solid as nails and he's got one of the safest floors. He is hurt, he is banged up, but you can almost look at like 8 targets, and feel really confident in that.
Yeah, I mean that's a decision that I have in the league that I have with James Cook, so I probably will go that way. I just don't want to risk getting a nothing burger from James Cook like I did last week, even though he got me to the playoffs. He had a great season, so really tough for James Cook. Obviously, most people are going to need to start him unless you have a type of Lad McConkey type of player. But everyone else who's starting, Amari Cooper's coming off a really good week. Khalil Shakir is incredible fantasy wise. I'm not looking to start Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid if they do play coming off of like a month out. Just want to see what they do when they're back first. For the Lions, though, don't need to talk about them. You can start them all, and I think Jared Goff could even be started in this specific matchup. They're just going to need to throw the hell out of the ball. Should be some touchdowns here. Sam Laporte is even a pretty good start here. I think everyone's just a good start.
How is this not flexed the game of the week, a Sunday or Monday?
Yeah, the Sunday night football game, and there's two Monday night football games, but none of them are close to as good as this one. So very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, weird, weird. NFL is weird. I don't know. That's strange. I don't know how this is not Sunday night football.
We got another 4:30 game worthy of being Sunday night football, though.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Bowl, the 10-3 Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go into Philly, play the 11-2 Eagles, who are 5.5 point favorites at home here. This one right here might be the two best defenses in football right now. Interestingly enough, both defenses are playing incredible ball. Obviously, the Eagles are really, really hot on a win streak. Saquon Barkley's playing MVP type football, should be running all over this Steelers team. AJ Brown apparently has some beef with Jalen Hurts. It makes me feel like AJ Brown's probably going to have a pretty good game this game. Usually, when he has like that diva drama episode that, as we've seen in previous years, the next week he does tend to go off. Hopefully, he does for my sake in fantasy. Really need that because he's coming off of a little bit of stinker performances with just zero volume because Saquon takes everything in the Eagles offense. So very, very interesting matchup. The Steelers playing some pretty good football. Russ is playing good. The defense is playing great. The run game's clicking. George Pickens is playing awesome. Wow, I just realized I put George Pickens on this graphic. He's not even playing in this game.
Oh,
Don't know
yeah.
what I'm thinking. I mean, give me the Eagles just for that, honestly. I thought it would be a little bit closer. George Pickens, Russ connection. I don't know what I'm smoking. It definitely give me the Eagles, though. I mean, they're healthier, they're hotter. No George Pickens in this one. The graphic guy is an absolute goof. Give me the Eagles.
And I'm just gonna say one thing real quick. Obviously, I'm taking the Eagles too. It should be I mean, it's gonna be a tough, gritty football game. This could come down to a lot of field goals, in my opinion, too. This could be Jake Elliott versus Chris Boswell. This could be just, a defensive masterclass. But however, obviously no George Pickens takes a lot out of this offense. I'll tell you one thing, don't start Calvin Austin, just from experience. George Pickens out, don't go try and get cute on me and start any really Steelers receiver and feel comfortable. I think Pat Fryermuth and Najee Harris are really it, and don't go get cute and Calvin Austin or Mike Williams or somebody like that because yeah, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't touch Calvin
Don't do
Austin.
it over Jordan Addison, last week.
Come
So that's
on.
I don't know who would have done that. I don't know what moron would have done that. But yeah, I mean, if you had to choose between Calvin Austin and Jordan Addison, I hope you didn't, I hope you didn't pick Calvin Austin.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't have a podcast last week having stores pound the table for Calvin Austin to get 2 points. So yeah, thank God for that. We'll just go into fantasy real quick before you even give your pick. I think obviously you said it perfectly. Pat Fryermuth is a good start. Literally the only semblance of good receiving option for the Steelers. Najee Harris is a good start. Jalen Warren's just kind of a dart throw flex play, but I don't think he's a bad start at all. And this matchup should be some offense in this matchup for the Eagles. You know who you're starting. You're starting AJ Brown, Saquon, Jalen Hurts, and then obviously Devonta Smith's a little bit scary, but you're still going to start him in the flex. Anything else fantasy wise? And then you want to give your pick.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles in this one. I feel confident in Saquon Barkley in the run game. Saquon Barkley might damn near have even broke the touchdown record if it wasn't for Jalen Hurts getting all the 1 yard rushing touchdowns after, Saquon Barkley gets him down there. One thing I want to say too is why didn't I take Saquon Barkley, my first overall fantasy pick? It was so obvious. It was sitting there on a gold platter, and I feel like most of us are like, no, no, we're gonna wait. He's gonna be like the 2.1 or the 112. We all looked at it and thought it was too good to be true, and just walked around it.
Really did seem so obvious. Like I remember in our podcast, literally right after he signed with the Eagles, we said like he's gonna break records behind this Eagles offensive line. He's gonna be literally the best running back ever. And same with Derrick Henry, and we just didn't take them for some reason. Just crazy.
Is yeah, exactly. Same thing with Derrick Henry just going to an elite offense and just I don't know. Stuff that needs to be studied in the human brain. When we literally, yeah, we talked about it. Saquon Barkley is going to be incredible. He's going to be an absolute menace behind the best offensive line in football. And yet Saquon Barkley is being drafted at the 112, the 2-1, the 2-3. It's stuff that doesn't make sense.
Sickening stuff that we didn't get any shares of him. He's absolutely incredible in this run game. Obviously, we all knew it was going to happen. Hopefully, you have him for your fantasy playoff push. Let's go on to the next game here. The 7-6 Tampa Buccaneers are going to go into LA, play the 8-5 Chargers, who are 3-point home favorites in this one. Really good matchup. I'll say right now, this is another coin flip of the week, but I think this game ends up a 1-point game no matter who wins. I think this game is just a 24-23 type of game, just an absolute squeaker, very close matchup. I'll let you talk about it though.
Yeah, I think this is a interesting matchup for both teams. A very good Tampa Bay, one of the best offensive red zone teams in the NFL versus the best, red zone defense in the NFL. So, there's two sides kind of going at each other, and then a not very good Chargers offense versus a not very good Tampa Bay, defense. So it's kind of just like flip flop. However, I am going to ride with my Chargers in this one. I am feeling comfortable. The defense will do enough, and Herbert is good enough to, overcome the bad offensive struggles. Hopefully, you get a healthy Lad McConkey back in this game. That will be huge for fantasy managers. I think Lad McConkey, if he's healthy and ready to go, he is a must start. I think he's kind of a top 15-ish fantasy wide receiver going forward just because the volume is there and he is so solid. But should be a pretty good game, like you said. Should be a nail biter. I really just think it's an offensive masterclass versus a defensive masterclass, and it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and who can overcome the struggles of what they are weak at. So, but however, yeah, I am going to take the Chargers. It is kind of a must win to hang in there in that sixth seed of the wild card. So a game the Chargers can't really let get past them.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit bold for me, but I'm gonna split with you here. I'm gonna take the Bucks to win 24-23 in an absolute squeaker. I've ever since I looked at this week's schedule, I just had a feeling that the Bucks would just come away with a win here. Just feels like a win for the Bucks and feels like a game that the Chargers would let slip. For some reason, I can't really fully wrap my head around it, but Baker's been playing some really good football. Obviously, gonna be first in that division because the Falcons are completely collapsing. So give me the Bucks to keep that rolling, keep that playoff train rolling. I think Mike Evans, Kate Otten could have good games here. I think if Bucky Irving doesn't play, Rashad White will have another good game. Maybe Bucky Irving has a really good game if he goes. I do think the Bucks match up decently against this Chargers team. Obviously, the Chargers offense will get going against this bad Buccaneers defense. So that is definitely where the Chargers would win. And I think Vlad has a good game. So definitely, a coin flip here. But I will go with the Bucks. More of a gut feeling that I've kind of had since the beginning of looking at the slate. I just feels like a game the Bucks could win here.
Yeah. Buccaneers do have a lot of injuries. Just have to throw that out there. Tristan Wirfs did not participate in practice today. Bucky Irving did not participate in practice. Obviously,
Winfield.
Antoine Winfield he was put on IR, right, already?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean they are, and obviously the team's already lost Chris Godwin, but yeah, Baker Mayfield, one of the swaggiest, toughest, just a rah guy where he can get anyone going. He can fire off at any time. So it's going to be a good game though. Another really good game of the week.
Yeah, will be a really fun one. Going into fantasy, obviously you're starting Lad McConkey if he goes. A little bit scared of a re-injury situation because he's a little bit smaller and they just spam him. They absolutely feed him. So hopefully he stays healthy and sustains all those targets because he could be a league winner if he does stay healthy. If he doesn't go for some reason, Quentin Johnson actually is a pretty good start. Obviously, just matchup wise, a great matchup against the Buccaneers. So I'm not excited to start Quentin Johnson if Lad goes, but if he doesn't, really excited about him. You mentioned Stone Smart. If you're really down bad at tight end, I think you can start him. Herbert does like targeting tight ends. So, and I mean, Smart is an athletic player, can, be a good receiver. So I do think you could do worse than Stone Smart as a streamer. It's just a little bit scary and, kind of his first game starting in the fantasy playoffs. It's a little bit scary, but I do think it could be a big brain play. And then obviously running back wise, you're not really looking to start anyone unless you're a little bit down bad. I would prefer to start one of the Jets guys if Brees Hall doesn't go, but you could do worse and just pray that Gus Edwards gets into the end zone. Maybe Vidal takes over in the backfield, but a little bit scared of the running backs. What do you think fantasy wise for the Chargers?
Oh, 100%. I think you just said it perfectly. Lad McConkey is a must start. Stone Smart is definitely worth a streaming option. A very athletic tight end kind of, came in the second half, had 54 receiving yards, when Will Dissly went out. So he could be a good streaming play. If Lad McConkey doesn't play, Josh Palmer, also coming off of a pretty decent week. Herbert just missed him. He would have had a really good week. He would have had a very, very good week. But I mean, Josh Palmer had 9 targets, 6 receptions for 78 yards and should have had, a 80-yard touchdown that Herbert. I mean, it was kind of on a little bit of both of them. I think it was a little overthrow by Herbert and a little bit of a, Josh Palmer should have maybe gone upfield instead of, veering towards the middle of the field a little bit more. So a little bit on both of them, but could have been a huge, huge opportunity there. Herbert, depending on, I mean, Herbert's actually a little banged up. He sprained his other ankle, so his right ankle he initially sprained. He sprained his left one at the beginning of the Chiefs game and is dealing with a bone bruise in his thigh. So he did not participate today. He will obviously play in this game, but he is a little banged up. So from a his athletic yards perspective, he's not going to do very much there. He could be worth depending on what your quarterback situation looks like, he could be a good streamer just because the Bucks don't have the best defense in the world. And then, like you said too, Quentin Johnston, not super excited if Ladd plays, but very excited for a touchdown. I think he's locked for a touchdown if Ladd doesn't play.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't hate streaming Justin Herbert against this bad Bucks defense. I think he definitely could have a good week here. Don't mind that at all. Buccaneers wise, you're starting Mike Evans. I think Kate Utton has a fine game here as well. Starting both of them, and then obviously not looking to start Jalen McMillan coming off that big game. I don't think you're really relying on that in the fantasy playoffs. Running back wise, you're starting Bucky if he goes. If he doesn't go, you're really excited about Rashad White, but you're probably starting both of them, and I think that's it here.
Yep, yep, that's it. It should be another good game. The last 3 games should have all been primetime games.
Yeah, and the Chargers defense has been playing really good. So Baker's a little bit scary, but I mean, Baker's just an absolute dog, and he's been pretty damn solid in fantasy. So you can stream Baker as well here. Both these quarterbacks are streamable. Going on to the next game, another closer than it looks game. The 6-7 Indy Colts are going to go into Denver, play the 8-5 Broncos, are 4-point home favorites here, and I do think this will be a good game. Both teams are coming off a bye. Feels like a little bit of a trap game for the Broncos, as the Colts are a must win, really must win out situation to overtake the Texans, maybe sneak in to the AFC playoffs. The Colts really need to win, so I do think they're going to fight really hard. Will be a really close game. I think the difference will be I could see just a boneheaded turnover from Anthony Richardson, in the end, just something that the Broncos kind of get the favor here. Nick Benito strip sack, just something that the Broncos defense comes away with a win here. So I do think I will take the Broncos. Bo Nix is playing really fun football, throwing downfield, running around, finding the open receiver. Really, just he's been really fun. It's refreshing as a Broncos fan having a quarterback that you're excited to watch for the first time in a decade. So give me Bo Nix and the Broncos to win. Like I do think that line's pretty appropriate. I think it's like a 24-20 type of game. Will be a pretty close football game, but give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm siding with you on this one too. I think the Broncos are playing really good football. Getting a good healthy week of rest last week, so it gives them another week to prepare and be ready for this Colts team to really take advantage of Anthony Richardson and the mistakes he could make. So like you said, Nick Benito, Pat Surtain, I think we'll have good games against Anthony Richardson. I think they will capitalize on his mistakes, and I feel like it should be. I feel like it won't be a blowout, but I feel like it should be a pretty, favorable game in for the Broncos, and I like the spread in this one.
Yeah, pretty solid matchup for the Broncos. I think Jonathan Taylor is a good game. Josh Downs is back, by the way. Doesn't look like Riley Moss will be back. And as we saw in that Browns game, the corner two for the Broncos could be a problem. So it's looking like it will be rookie Chris Abrams drain against Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. So that could be something to monitor. But going into fantasy, obviously you're starting Cortland Sutton. He's been a revelation. I think Bo Nix is definitely a good start as well. You're not going to start any of the running backs in this Broncos backfield, though. You can never predict it. coming off of a McLaughlin game. It'll probably be Estime or Javante, and then the next week will be at McLaughlin. You just can never predict it with the Broncos. I do want to ask you, I mean, I think we're just going to start Bo Nix, but are we starting Bo Nix over Kyler Murray and co-manager? Obviously, Kyler's projected more, but Kyler's really been struggling. It seems like a decent matchup for Bo. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think Bo Nix is kind of a must start going forward for, depending on your quarterback situation. But I mean, Bo's been as solid as can be, and you kind of know what you're getting out of him. And Kyler Murray, it's either, I think Kyler Murray, if you can look away, I mean, Kyler Murray is a boom or bust at this point, where Bo Nix is kind of that 20-point floor and, even a higher floor. I mean, Bo Nix is coming off of four straight games, or sorry, I mean he's dipped below a little bit below obviously versus Cleveland. But I mean before that 23, 36, 20, 17, 35. I just feel a lot safer with the floor of Bo Nix too. And I mean and his rushing upside is there as well. I mean he hasn't had a big rushing game in a while, but I could see him using his legs versus the Colts.
Yeah, I agree. I do think Bo Nix is a good start here for the Colts. Not looking to start Anthony Richardson in this tough matchup at all. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, you're starting. Receiver wise, with Josh Downs back, I guess you're starting Josh Downs. You're not excited about it. I could definitely see a stinker in his way, but I don't know. It's really tough. I'm not looking to start Michael Pittman against Pat Surtain, possibly. Uh, Josh Downs should be somewhat decent in the slot, though. So I do think Josh Downs is really the only receiver I'm thinking about starting. Are you thinking about Michael Pittman or no?
No, I'm not there with Michael Pittman. I do feel like Michael Pittman will be shadowed by Pat Surtain in this one for the majority of the matchup. So yeah, I think Josh Downs could definitely take advantage of his matchups, and I think Josh Downs is a good start, and obviously Jonathan Taylor, and that's it. That's it for the Colts. And I mean, you could maybe, have if you really want to get, smart and, bold, you could maybe throw Alec Pearson there for a 70-yard catch and possibly a touchdown to get over the top of this defense. They gave up a lot of yards to the Cleveland Browns, but I mean that's a big dart throw.
Yeah, definitely not a bad dart throw if you really need upside. If no Riley Moss, I do think that I could see a big touchdown from the wide receiver two position, but don't need to watch it. We both have the Broncos here. Let's go on to the next game. The 3-10 New England Patriots are going to go into Patriots, not Patriots, are going to go into Arizona, play the 6-7 Cardinals. So we're 6-point favorites in this one. Call of Duty Kyler, man. We just talked about Kyler. Call of Duty's got Kyler playing a little bit sus lately, a little bit of a struggle. He's not too focused, a little bit too focused on Call of Duty. Very inconsistent. Coming off that bye, he was just so good before the bye, and then post bye, Kyler's just been pretty terrible. So a little bit inconsistent with the Cardinals. Don't really know what you're going to get. But in this matchup, give me the Cardinals. I do think it'll be a somewhat close game. The Cardinals just haven't been playing great football. Drake May, I could see him having a fun game just out in the backyard, slinging it here. But give me the Cardinals to come away with a closer than you'd think win. But could be a boring game. Kyler struggling, kind of a gross one.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a gross matchup, but yeah, like you said, I think Kyler and the Cardinals are obviously just a better overall roster, and so I feel like that will prevail them versus the Patriots. But Drake May is going to be out there gunslinging it, keeping them close, but it won't be enough. But yeah, Drake May playing really, really admirable for for the situation he's been given. Defensive coordinator, head coach, or sorry, defensive minded head coach, pretty terrible offensive roster around him, but he's still out there. He's got a gunslinger mentality, and he'll keep any game close.
Someone said that Drake May is Justin Herbert's body with Jameis Winston's mind.
That's yeah, I see it. He really is. I mean, you put him out there, he looks like Justin Herbert, from like the size, number 10, the athleticism, the big arm, but it's just yeah, the brain is not that, it's not that 4.0 scholar, Peyton Manning pick you apart type stuff. It is, yeah, it's more of that Brett Favre, Jameis Winston. I'm gonna throw up a Hail Mary and I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray my receiver gets it.
Yeah, definitely some YOLO ball going on with the Patriots. Going into fantasy, I do think Hunter Henry's a fine start. I'm starting him, and I do think you could do worse at tight end, obviously, with the position being so bad. Receiver wise, though, I guess you could start Pop Douglas, but I'm not looking to start anyone else on the Patriots. If I'm being honest, Ramondre could be a dart throw flex option, but I'm just not really excited about Patriots options. If I'm being honest, outside of tight end. even Austin Hooper could be a dart throw, but I'm just not really excited about these Patriots receivers. Personally, I wouldn't start anyone outside of Hunter Henry. And then for the Cardinals, obviously, you're really excited about Trey McBride, really excited about James Conner. Kyler is more of just a streaming option for me. He's really inconsistent, like we said, hasn't been good lately. So I'm not looking to, smash start him like we're starting Bo Nix over him, but you're probably forced to start him in most situations. Marvin Harrison Jr., really, really tough situation. We're benching him in our co-manager league. He's just not the greatest, not the most consistent. Had, his second most targets of his career last week and just couldn't get the job done. So a little bit disappointing from Marvin Harrison. A really disappointing season overall from him. Not looking to start him right now.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. And like you said, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., incredible wide receiver. It's just he's just maybe just not there mentally yet. I mean, out of the physical traits, nothing. He doesn't lack any talent. It's just it's not clicking there. Whether it's him and Kyler together, but I'm looking forward to Marvin Harrison Jr. next season. But this year, it's just kind of it's a rookie season for sure for Marvin.
Yeah, the connection is just clearly not there, a little bit off, but you're really excited about that guy, Trey McBride. Definitely could be a league winner with the amount of volume he's getting. Let's go into the Sunday night football game. The 9-4 Packers are going to go into Seattle, play the 8-5 Seahawks. The Packers are 3-point road favorites in this one. The Packers are playing better. Toyota Thon, Jordan Love's getting healthier, playing a lot better, usually plays better at this point of the season every year. And then the Seahawks, Mike McDonald's got the Seahawks defense playing really, really solid. So I do think this will be a closer game than people think. A lot of people will pick the Packers, but I do think it'll be a really close game. Josh Jacobs is playing insane, insane football. So it will be a good matchup against the Seahawks defense that's playing great. Leonard Williams, shout out to him. He's absolutely balling. So will be a pretty fun Sunday night football game. Obviously, should be the Bills and Lions playing on Sunday night football, but we'll take what we can get. I will take the Packers here on the road in a pretty close game. I think it's like a 3-point game. I think that line's pretty appropriate. I think it's going to be a game-winning field goal type of game. But Jordan Love is playing better, a little bit safer with the football. Josh Jacobs is kind of the difference in this game. If Kenneth Walker doesn't go, expect another big Charbonnet game because he is looking really good. He's definitely carved himself a role, even if Walker is healthy. So something to monitor. But give me the Packers in this one.
Yeah, this should be a pretty interesting game. I feel like these teams are just very evenly matched. Feel like, they'll have there's these offensive boom weeks where everything's just going really good, and then they'll have some defensive struggles, or their defense will make some plays, their offense will just make some boneheaded plays. So it's a kind of an interesting matchup for me because I feel like these teams just fare really well versus each other. But I don't know why. I think I'm feeling a Geno game-winning drive versus the Packers, to upset them. So give me the dogs in this. Give me Jameson, or sorry, not Jameson, Geno Smith. Excuse me, I don't know where my brain's at. But give me Geno Smith on a on a game-winning drive. Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, Zach Charbonnet just played with his absolute hair on fire last week. So, it was a great offensive performance. I think they'll build off of that, and I think their defense, has been able to prove that they can get turnovers at a consistent rate with Mike McDonald. And I feel like they could take advantage of Jordan, Love, who has that gunslinger mentality, who, might make a couple boneheaded mistakes, and I think the Seahawks will make them pay.
Yeah, definitely a very good matchup. I like that we're split on this one. Going into fantasy, DK Metcalf, really disappointing. He's been overtaken as the wide receiver one on this football team, which is pretty incredible to say. Wouldn't have expected that. So DK is like kind of looking to not start him, honestly. You might be pigeonholed into putting him in your flex, but you're not excited about it at all. Not much upside. Good matchup, but
Give us
especially
all
for
the JSN though. Give us all the JSN.
yeah, no Jair Alexander in this one. The Seahawks receiver should be eating. So definitely look forward to JSN to continue his just hot streak. He's definitely moving into league winning territory with the amount of volume that he's getting as the wide receiver one for the Seahawks. So really excited about him. Metcalf, not so excited about him. Running back wise, obviously you're starting Walker if he goes. If he doesn't, you're starting Charbonnet if he goes. Both are like top 10 options if they do go. Obviously you're not starting Charbonnet if Walker goes though. And then for the Packers, Jordan Love's a little bit scary. I'm really tilting on if I want to start him or Jameis Winston, so that kind of tells you where I am Jordan Love wise. Just not too much touchdown volume, not what you expected with him, with just Josh Jacobs taking everything, all the goal line. Every time they get into the red zone, he's scoring. He's just too good, honestly. So Josh Jacobs kind of hurts Jordan Love's upside makes it a little bit scary of a start for the playoff. You don't want to, he definitely has a nice floor, but you just don't have too much upside, which is scary. Receiver wise, Jaden Reed, I'm really not looking to start. If I'm being honest, he just came off of a literal goose egg. I don't want that in my playoff matchup. I would rather start Christian Watson than Jaden Reed. Not really looking to start either of them, but I would prioritize Watson. Not looking to start Reed. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is a smash start, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that you just said it perfectly. I agree with everything you said, but should be a pretty another fun fantasy matchup for sure.
Yeah, a lot of fantasy implications here on Sunday Night Football. Let's go on to the first of two Monday Night Football games. The 4-9 Chicago Bears are going to go into Minnesota, play the 11-2 Vikings. Vikings are 7-point home favorites in this one. I think this one's really cut and dry. Should be the Vikings, up 20 something to 3 at halftime, and then the Bears will start to come back. The Bears really seem to be a second half team offensively. So maybe it'll be close by the end. These NFC North matchups are weird, but definitely give me the Vikings to come away with the win. They're just playing too good a football. Caleb and the Bears just have some weird vibes going on. Rome Odunze is finally coming off a big game, but I think you just got to go with the Vikings here and pretty cut and dry like the last few matchups we've been talking about.
Yeah, I agree. The Vikings are the better football team. They will knock them off, and you just pretty much just summarize the game. Yeah, it'll be 20 something to 3, and then yeah, Caleb will start finding his groove a little bit in the second half, and then the Vikings will just pull away at the end. But yeah, I mean it should be a pretty fun football game. But I think this one we can see already what's gonna happen.
Yeah, going on to fantasy in this game, obviously you're really excited to start Justin Jefferson, really excited to start Jordan Addison coming off of last week. Are you starting Jordan Addison?
You know, I think there's a curse between me and Jordan Addison. It's
Stars,
whatever
that
I
wasn't a
need to.
question. I'm telling you, you're starting Jordan Addison, you idiot.
I'm starting Jordan Addison. So for those of you that believe in the store's curse of when I start and do not start Jordan Addison, it's lived on to this moment. I've every week I've started Jordan Addison. He's scored under 10. Every week I haven't. He has scored a touchdown and been insane. So I am starting him this week. So just take that with caution. I have to start him. So just take that in consideration. If curses are real, this week will prove it.
If after last week he comes up with a stinker, that would be some pretty incredible stuff, honestly. But I do see Jordan Addison having a good game. Coming off last week, I just see a lot of offense for the Vikings here. Sam Darnold's a good start because they're just really hot on offense, throwing a lot of touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson's a fine start, not too much of upside, but definitely will get, 8 to 10 to 12 points. So you're not mad about TJ Hawkinson at all. Aaron Jones, you got to throw into your lineup as well. Pretty cut and dry for the Vikings. For the Bears, it's really, I mean, DeAndre Swift is scary. I honestly, I'm going to say I don't think you want to start DeAndre Swift. That's going to backfire because I'm playing him this week. So that's definitely going to backfire. But personally, I would bench DeAndre Swift. Romo Dunze is a pretty good start coming off last week. I think they're finally going to start feeding Romo Dunze. So I think DJ Moore, Romo Dunze are really good starts. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head with that. Should be an interesting game, and just pray for Jordan Addison this week to not give me a stinker in the playoffs when I need him the most. This is when I need a 2 touchdown game, Jordan Addison, please.
It's going to be a very interesting study if he has a bad game, but I definitely think he'll have a good game. Maybe end the Stores curse. Maybe Stores' beard will end the Jordan Addison curse. But going on to the last game of the season, the 6-7 Atlanta Falcons are going to go into Vegas, play the 2-11 Raiders. The Falcons are 4-point road favorites in this one, and I mean this is a pretty easy cut and dry one. Looking like it's the Ritter revenge game, but with my luck, I'm playing against Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers in fantasy. Apparently, Aiden O'Connell is somehow practicing, and I thought he was out for a season, so I'm just at a loss at that. I thought this was going to be the Ritter revenge game. No idea what's going on, to be completely honest, who's going to be at quarterback, but it doesn't matter. No, give me the Falcons here. I think it will be like a somewhat close game because Kirk's thrown 8 straight interceptions with no touchdowns. Kirk's been playing absolutely terrible football. Might as well just put Penix out there at this point where we're at. But I think Bijan could single-handedly win this game. I think he has a big game in this one. I think Drake London, is just too good not to get his in this matchup. So give me the Falcons to come away with it, even though it probably won't be a blowout or anything. Probably will be a boring game, but a lot of fantasy implications here.
Preach, preach. I don't know if there's much for me to add on this, but yeah, this should be a good get right game for the Falcons. They need to get to, 500 to be competitive in their division. And the Raiders at this point they have no reason to win. They have no reason to win. This is Shadur time. This is tank for that first pick. So you can go get your future quarterback of the future. Because I mean, I feel like the players and everything have given up. They need a face. They need a big time name to come in here and change the culture for this team. And they almost need to blow up this whole roster. So at this point, it's tank season.
Absolutely. Going into fantasy for the Raiders, obviously you're starting Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, who have been incredible. Obviously, you're less excited about them if it is Ritter starting. If it's Aiden O'Connell, you're definitely really excited about them, honestly. I'm playing both of them, and I am pretty scared, not gonna lie. I think the matchup's gonna come down to them. So hopefully the Falcons defense can do something for once. And a lot of talent on the Falcons defense, but they have been terrible. Sincere McCormick is gonna be the bell cow here. They announced that he will be the starter, even with Alexander Madison coming back healthy. So I do think you could do worse as McCormick as a flex play. I mean, he's not going to give you the most upside, but he'll give you a lot of volume. So definitely could do worse. Would start McCormick over Gus Edwards and those type of players. For the Falcons, you're obviously starting Bijan Robinson. I think he has a great week. Drake London, you're starting, but obviously the upside hasn't been great with Kirk Cousins not throwing any touchdowns recently. Hopefully he can get a touchdown in this matchup too. His boy Drake London, Kyle Pitts, if he's still on a fantasy football roster, you've got to really check yourself. He definitely should be on the waiver wires. You can never touch Kyle Pitts ever again in fantasy football. Really just terrible, terrible stuff. I think it's like 3 straight weeks of under 5 points. He is just an absolute laughing stock at this point. And I think that's it for the Falcons. Darnell Mooney is a fine flex play, not too high of upside, but you can start him.
Uh, you know, just we gotta have some Kyle Pitts. We gotta have some words with Kyle Pitts, the fantasy community, and the false hope and the absolute gut wrenching hell he's put us through. So Kyle Pitts needs to pay for his sins.
Hot take, Kyle Pitts is a Ram next year.
Oh, well, I'd like it. I'd like it. Give me, maybe that. No, no, no. That's false hope. Putting him in a
Yeah.
Sean McVay offense for him just to let everyone down. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it, but man, that would just be terrible because everyone would give another year.
Yeah, if he was a Falcon, he'd be our tight end 46 in our fantasy rankings. But if he was a Ram, then that gives us false hope again. We'd probably feel like we were forced to put him in the top 10 of our fantasy rankings just for him to disappoint again. So definitely would be on brand for Kyle Pitts. But really fun going over all these games. Give me a Panthers exotic.
Give me Bryce Young to throw for 300 plus this game, his first 300-yard game of this season, to knock the Cowboys off and to get Mike McCarthy fired once and for all. That's
How
your
many
hot take right
touchdowns?
there. Two touchdowns. We're gonna go modest. We're gonna go two touchdowns, 300 first 300-yard game of the season, and a big win. And we're gonna get Mike McCarthy off the Cowboys.
All right, you heard it here first. Must start player Bryce Young. Start him in your fantasy matchups. Bryce Young will be a league winner in fantasy. You heard it from Stores first. Take any questions or inquiries or anything to Stores because he's announcing he's calling a shot on Bryce Young being the league winner. But really fun going over all these games. Week 15 should be electric. Hopefully you guys all win your playoff matchups. Hopefully us two win and we advance to the next round. Really scared. Really scared. Playoffs are so scary. But thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.